Hey guys, Mistmaster1 here, and welcome back to more Kingdom Hearts Funimix HD Proud Level 1. In the last episode, we started off Gummi Missions, and we completed the first 5 worlds, the set of worlds in here, in this first ring, and Agrabah as well. If we come over to our little sub-screen over here on the totals, we have 5 out of 10. We have completed the first row there, Traverse Town, Wonderland, Olympus, Deep Jungle, and Agrabah. And in this episode, we are going to clear out the other 15 missions that the other worlds have to offer. And no, just for the record, Monster doesn't have any missions, but you do get an amazing little 3D thing where you can spin them around like this. And I think I'll leave you at that, but I'm going to cut away back to post-commentary again, so we can start off with the next set of Gummi Missions, and the next world I will be tackling is Atlantica, because I want to get the BS out of the way. Let's get to it. First mission of Atlantica, Lucky Blue, collect 10 or more armor blocks, which are the little green diamonds that heal your ship. We're going to use the standard Excalibur ship, you know, the ones that I've been using since the first video for general score stuff and minor stuff like this. And we will be taking the route from Agrabah to Atlantica. Now, a few things to note about this. This is a luck-based Gummi mission. There are specific meteorite, like blue little meteorites, not the big ones you see there, that have the armor blocks, and they don't always drop it. You can also get a sort of power block, which is like the little sphere with stars on it. And also you're going to want to have the Asunaji on you to reveal a couple of hidden ones that are found throughout this Gummi route. Things to note about the Gummi missions of Atlantica. This one in particular, not so bad, but specifically with Mission 2 and Mission 3, some of which are regarded as a couple of the worst Gummi missions in the entire game to actually do because of the ridiculous difficulty. Something you can do to make your life easier. If, when you did this originally in the mid-game and you went to Halloween Town's Gummi route first instead of Atlantica's Gummi route, you will have monsters spawn on the top end of the middle ring of worlds instead of the bottom part of the middle ring. If you spawn Monstro on the top, then don't worry about it too much, because you can pretty much do everything that I'll be doing to cover the next few missions. But if you haven't, you're kind of SOL, and by that I mean, you remember how in the Halloween Town Gummi route he showed up when a bunch of green blocks and like green spheres kind of opened up? And like this little portion right here that has that ring and a couple of the blue meteor things, he will spawn in that little area sometimes if you took this road, and he can cut you off before you actually get to Atlantica and really screw with your mission, because if you get swallowed by Monstro, you don't get credit for Atlantica's Gummi missions. And there is the first one right there, and you get a wheel G for your efforts. And coming up for Mission 2 is keep all obstacles intact and obtain a score of 240 or higher. This mission sucks, but before we get into it, just note, Monstro is on the top part of the middle set of worlds there, because I went to Halloween Town's Gummi route before Atlantica's Gummi route. And that is very key for doing certain missions for this world, because now we can take the orange warpole from either Deep Jungle or Olympus to Atlantica, instead of having to go all the way from Neverland to Atlantica and have a really small window in terms of getting stuff done. For this particular instance, I have a Gummi ship that has all the weapons removed that aren't Thunder G, and basically replaced it with all the Thunder Gs I could possibly carry, because the whole idea for this is to keep the obstacles intact, and the lasers can lock onto said objects that you don't want to blow up, so you want to be in control of everything that you're going to be shooting. And essentially all you're doing for this mission is destroying as many Gummi ships as possible, and picking up as many Gummi blocks as possible. There's nothing else you can really do. And I guess blueprints also count, but you probably have a lot of the blueprints already if you've been following the Gummi missions up to this point. There's a lot of things that are complicated in this particular mission that make you play very, very carefully. As you see right here, I just completely missed these ships right here, which sucks, but you saw a bunch of those blue meteors in the way. Yeah, they can, everything that is not a Gummi ship, basically, anything that isn't flying at you and trying to kill you, you are not allowed to blow up for the entirety of the Gummi mission. All you're allowed to collect are the little blueprints, or most likely Gummi blocks, that you will find from them after they've been destroyed. This mission is extremely difficult if you are not able to do it along this path. The only way you can reliably do this mission is from Neverland to Atlantica, and that's kind of the case with all 3 of the missions. But like I said before, hopefully you manage to get Monstro on the top of this little world map where the middle set of worlds is, instead of the bottom part, so you can avoid this thing entirely. Do not flip out 100% if you do have monsters spawn down there on the bottom part. Just know that if you do attempt to do the Gummi Missions the way I have had them laid out in this video, you will have a chance of getting interrupted by Monstro, and even if you're on a perfect attempt, regardless, you will have to try again occasionally. If you take the orange Warpole path, of course, make sure you take a right when you're prompted here, so you actually go all the way to Atlantica instead of Agrabah. Once you have a score of 240, all you're going to want to do is just make sure you don't fire your gun anymore. Just get to Atlantica and try to survive. This can be a bit of an issue though, because since you can't destroy obstacles, you have virtually no way of healing yourself. So aside from a shield 2 Gummi, you have pretty much no defense against these things. You kind of just have to do your best to avoid taking damage, which is hilarious in the next mission, which you'll see later, but I digress. And there you go, get a Caterpillar G for defeating the second mission. And coming up next is the final mission of Atlantica, which is avoid all items and obtain a score of 260 or higher. This mission sucks. If you thought the last one was irritating, you are not ready for what's coming up next. Essentially, exact opposite of last mission, destroy everything, just don't pick anything up. So in this instance, what I'm going to be doing is using the exact same Excalibur model, except this time I have taken off the Osmos G, just so I don't accidentally flick the analog stick and, you know, pick up items that would kind of defeat the whole purpose of the Gummi mission. And we're going to go from OC all the way to Atlantica, just like last mission. So yeah, tips for this little thing. Of course, take the Osmos G off so you don't risk, you know, accidentally picking items up. Do your best to make sure you don't fly into the items after they've been, you know, established. Try to kill the enemies all in a similar spot if you can help it, so all the items are kind of grouped in that area and you can just fly away from it, but that's not 100% needed. Destroy whatever you want. There is, like I said, there is no disadvantage to destroying things up necessarily in terms of score, but just know that depending on where you blow things up will heavily affect whether or not they'll pose a threat to you being in the way for when you actually have to bypass them, because of course picking up a single item makes you restart this entire mission, and in this particular screen right here, if you take this path, that can get extremely overwhelming. You honestly will want to have instances where you purposely just don't go for certain kills on certain Gummi ships, because they will just create too much of a widespread area where the items drop, and like in this instance right here, I don't know how I managed to avoid all of those, but I was too overwhelmed by the fact that I decided to hold back on my fire because enemy ships got too close by that point, and if you, of course, destroy enemy ships too close, you'll pretty much pick up their Gummi block immediately. So general tips is don't have a really high-powered engine unless you're very confident. I only have that on so I can speed the process up a little bit more. Pretty much be de-accelerated the entire time by holding the brakes down, and yeah, that's pretty much. I think there's one more thing I was thinking about, but I pretty much forgot what I was going to say. But yeah, those are the general guidelines. Keep a general distance away from... Oh yeah, and also, if you want, make your ship really tiny so your hitbox is also fairly small. You can only build your ship down so much to the point where that actually doesn't matter, so really this ship is almost as good as it's pretty much going to get in terms of hitbox detection with certain items. But I mean, with all those in mind, all you have to do is just make sure, this is a great part right here, we have a bunch of these little mini obstacles that don't drop anything, just destroy all of those. And of course, keep a tab open for when you finally do hit that score of 260, as I'm about to right here. Because at this point, all you have to do now is just make it to Atlantica, and you pretty much don't have to worry about picking anything up as long as you don't fire anymore. So once you're at a score of 260 or higher, just try your best to boost through to the very end. Although be careful, because if you hadn't noticed, I actually have the regular Life Gummi cockpit instead of the full Life Gummi cockpit on, and I didn't realize this until the very end here. I get nicked by that ship right there, get down to critical health, and pretty much right here, coming up, I'm going to get nicked again, and I'm going to drop below my health and actually come back up to normal health again. And I'm like, wait, why is my health not all the way back up? And I start freaking out. But thankfully, I managed to avoid all the Gummi ships in time, and I've made it and completed the third Gummi mission. But yeah, pretty scary. Get yourself the Pandemonium Gummi blueprint for completing all the missions in Atlantica. So yeah, pretty annoying place overall to do the Gummi missions, but you need to in order to get everything there is. So there you go. There is all of the Gummi missions of Atlantica. And coming up next are the Gummi missions of Halloween Town, and here's the first one. Collect 20 or more power blocks. This is similar to Atlantica's collect 10 armor blocks in the first mission that it had there, except this time you're collecting the blue spheres instead of the green diamonds, which is dropped by the same meteorite. I'm using the exact same ship I would normally use for score missions, like this one right here with Excalibur, and all the missions will take place on the Gummi route from Neverland to Halloween Town, because Monstro's blocking the other way to Halloween Town, so this just makes it a little easier. General tips, just in case you don't know exactly what I mean by using my standard ship, is of course have a balance of good Thunder Gs and some lasers, have an Osmos G to pick stuff up, and also you will want at least one Asuna G on so you can reveal some of the hidden obstacles that drop the actual power blocks that we're after. Now, similar to how Atlantica was in terms of completing the Gummi mission, needing to collect all of those blocks, 10 armor blocks, in this case it's the same thing except it's power blocks and we need 20 of them, you can actually get screwed over by the game if it absolutely just denies you the drops, because it is essentially a 50-50 chance when you destroy the blue objects whether they'll reward you with the item you want or not. And I have actually had to do this mission 2 or 3 times because the game just said, no, you're not allowed to have 20 power blocks. But thankfully, given the odds, you will probably succeed at this more often than not, but I was just getting really unlucky. Essentially, also if you haven't noticed, the Gummi route here is longer. Now that we have Neverland spawned in, the Gummi routes have actually changed a bit, so just pointing that out there. But you will eventually just get 20 power blocks after enough time and effort, and that's all you need to know. It's pretty simple. You just have to do the mission enough until you get the item drops that you need. And you get yourself a Wheel G for completing it. Up next is the second mission, which is keep moving and shooting, destroy 220 or more enemy ships without using the brakes, which honestly sounds a little iffy, but it's not really that difficult at all. I'm going to speed this up now because this is the exact same thing that we've done in the last mission right there. Nothing new to mention in terms of Gummi ship and strategy. But except this time in mind, just destroy every enemy ship that you can possibly find. And you might think 220 might be a bit weird, but if you actually paid attention, we had more than 220 Gummi ships, enemy Gummi ships destroyed just from that. So to be perfectly honest, you don't have to worry about it. If you feel like you're not going to make it, once you get to this little stretch right here, after those little beginning portions, you will just get a massive amount. Look how fast the Gummi ship, the enemy Heartless ships have risen up since we actually entered that part. Go back and watch that if you missed it, but we've attained a ridiculous amount in just this last little section right here. All we need is 220 of them, and just purely based off that little section right there, we completely demolished that with 50 extra. And there you go, that is Gummi mission number 2 for Halloween Town. Get yourself a Caterpillar G as a reward. And finally is Mission 3, which is set off from Neverland with only Meteor G as a weapon and obtain a score of 550 or higher. So I've taken off all the weapons from my Excalibur and just replaced them with the Meteor G gummies as such. So no Thunder Gs, no Ultima Gs, just straight on Meteor Gs. And honestly, this mission is pretty simple as well. You just make sure you don't absolutely go ham with your lasers, so you maintain your MP, your power, whatever you want to call it. I accidentally have a stroke on the controller or something, and I press the PlayStation button and I lose control for a minute, so make sure you don't, have that happen. Pressing the PlayStation button when you're in the middle of these can be quite bad. I don't really think I have to go into much more detail, but as you can see, we hit the score of 220 ridiculously easily, and in all honesty, Halloween Town's Gummi missions are some of the easiest in the game, so not really much to say about that. And we got ourselves the Ixion blueprint for completing it, which is an Aeon from Final Fantasy X. And there we are, all 3 Gummi missions of Halloween Town finished. And up next is the Gummi Missions of Neverland. First one, set off from Atlantica with only Thunder G as a weapon and destroy 150 or more enemy ships. So just like how we had that mission a little bit ago with Meteor Gs only, just replace all the Meteor Gs with Thunder Gs and put on as many as you can. That solves the issue. Neat little thing to note, just like Halloween Town's Gummi route, this is actually evolved again with another section after this beginning part, which wasn't there originally until Neverland was on the map. We haven't actually normally driven in this area since we, found out that worlds were actually there. There's no point in normal driving after the fact, but there's this little section that's added in right here, as a matter of fact, for having Neverland spawned on the map now. Overall strategy, just make sure you take down the little ships, like the ones that go down no time flat, then focus on the animal-like ships that are known as Diablos, like the little dark ships over there. But honestly, you'll pretty much finish this mission in no time flat because we're almost done with this. We wanted 150 destroyed. We did cut it a bit close, but okay, never mind. We got 187. That was pretty good. So really pretty easy overall. Rock Gummy for your efforts. Number 2, use 100 or more Gummy blocks and set off from Olympus Coliseum. Arrive in Neverland without taking any damage. This might seem a bit tricky actually, and don't laugh because honestly, I've only added extra blocks just for the sake of the mission. There's nothing really crafty here. I've essentially taken the basic Excalibur and I've put on a bunch of gummy blocks that are known as arrow gummies, and they're just basically wings that allow better movement for the gummy ship overall. You can see on the right it says blocks used 100. It looks really silly, but it's really effective. And of course, we're going to go from Olympus to Neverland by using the purple warp hole. Now the nice thing about this is even though it says you need 100 blocks on and you're not allowed to take damage, in its little regulations thing, it does not specify that you can't not use the Shield 2 Gummy. So basically, as long as you have 100 Gummy blocks on you and you have the Shield 2 Gummy active, you pretty much can't fail this because you will have a bunch of shield blocks that drop shield little gummy blocks on top of that. Like the little obstacles drop the shield gummies, which allow your shield bar on the bottom right there to be refilled constantly. So honestly, it's just a matter of, you know, taking the time out to actually go from Olympus all the way to Neverland, and that's pretty much the end of it. Just make sure you have 100 blocks. Shield 2 makes this incredibly easy. When you get to the breaking point right here, you want to make sure you hug the right side of the screen, which will take you to Neverland instead of Hall of Bastion. And yeah, there's nothing really much else to say about it. This mission is a lot easier than it seems. I've just sped this entire process up because you've already seen what all these routes look like, and eventually you will make it to Neverland, and you'll be unscathed because Shield 2G is just that badass. Give yourself a Drill G for completing the mission. Mission 3. Use 10 or fewer gummy blocks and set off from Olympus and destroy 777 or more obstacles. Now, if you notice, we've already destroyed 758 just from that last mission right there, although we did have 100 blocks at our side, so that was kind of a weird advantage. So you might think this might actually be pretty tough, but in all honesty, it's really not, especially if you slow down to destroy a lot of stuff. Of course, this is a minimalist gummy ship. We're going to go from 100 down to 10, and all you really need is a cockpit, an engine, the Shield 2 Gummy. You don't need the Haste 2G, but I have it anyway. 4 Meteor Gs and 2 Thunder Gs should be all the weapons you need in order to take down this mission. It's honestly not that difficult. Just verifying again that I do in fact only have 10 gummy blocks. That would be the Boost, the Haste 2G, the Shield 2G, the Holy G, the Full Life G, the 4 Meteor Gs, and the 2 Thunder Gs. So we're going to take the same route once again from Olympus all the way to Neverland by, you know, just doing what we did last time. I don't really know what else to say. You saw the last gummy mission, and of course, that's all you really need to know. The only downside to this is you don't have Osmos Gummy to really reel in some stuff to really help you in terms of like keeping your shield and all that other stuff going. But keep in mind exactly what the objective of this gummy mission is. It said destroy 777 or more obstacles and reach the end. That it does not specify anything else aside from destroying the amount of obstacles and only using 10 gummy blocks to do so. So as long as you're careful with the way you do things, along with the fact you have a Shield 2 Gummy in case things get really messy, you really shouldn't have to worry about dying here. All you really should be focused on is just destroying as many obstacles as possible. We're going to take the purple warp hole and do the exact same gummy route that we did in the last mission. And really there's nothing else to say. I'm just going to speed this whole process up once again. Gummy ships, of course, take them out if they're going to be a threat to you, but of course, just make sure you have obstacles in mind. Slow down for whenever you need to. You don't have to get every single obstacle along this path. In fact, I missed quite a few, and I actually almost cap out after a while. Because you'll notice that on the right side there, the little detailed sort of numbers with specific things, the score itself goes into 4 digits, but each little individual thing, like the gummy ships you destroy, the obstacles you destroy, and all that, they only go up to 3 digits. Now, in most cases, which is basically everything except this particular Gummi route, and I guess maybe the Gummi route from Traverse Town to Neverland, but I digress. You can actually exceed the limit of how many it holds. Like, the limit that it absolutely goes up to is 999, and when you actually do hit 999 and you go beyond that, the number actually turns red, and it does count for Gummi stuff, like anything in that specific area in terms of obstacles defeated, Gummi ships defeated, whatever. It actually does keep counting that, but it doesn't display it anymore. It will only show up as a number that is fixed at 999 with a red glow around it, but doing, like, collecting more or destroying more past that point will cause the score to go up. So the game actually is keeping track in its internal memory, it's just not displaying it on the actual detailed thing itself. Now, if you'll notice, we still have a reasonable way to go, and we've already gotten rid of 730 obstacles, and remember, our goal is 777. So, honestly, you really shouldn't you really don't have to panic too much about this. I was gonna say picnic, like a meme, but... you will most likely hit 777 obstacles destroyed before you even get to the final portion of this Gummi mission. And even if you haven't, you still don't have to worry at all, because if you have not attained a total of 777 obstacles defeated by this point, by the end of this point right here, you will most certainly get it during this part right here, because there's like 200 or 300 obstacles in your pathway. So we've hit the score of 777 obstacles. I'm just going to speed the rest up, but as you saw right there, I was just barely shy of the goal, and I hit it almost 200 more than the required amount to actually finish it. And for completing the third Gummi mission, we get ourselves the Gilgamesh Blueprint, and there we go. That is all of the Gummi missions that Neverland has to offer. Starting off the second last set of missions is at Hollow Bastions. Mission 1, set off from Neverland with only Ultimate G as a weapon and destroy 130 or more enemy ships. This could actually prove to be pretty annoying because you can only have a total of 4 of these in the entire game, and it's similar to all the other, you know, missions where you have only a specific weapon, but only being able to have 4 Ultimate G lasers to actually deal with this is pretty tough, and if you attempt to do this with any less, it's almost not even remotely doable. So make sure you have all 4 from Gummi Collection, from Dalmatians and all that other stuff, and let's get going here. Now you'll notice the lasers love to shoot around a lot, but they also take a very long time to recharge as a result of that, and you will probably miss out on a lot, and I do mean a lot of Gummi ship kills solely due to the fact that you just can't fire it fast enough, because the cooldown on this thing is honestly complete garbage. Because it wants to go and attack literally everything there is. It's really good for getting damage in, but it takes far too long to do it. So honestly, this is probably one of my least favorite weapons that this, you know, that the Gummis in general have to offer. And you will just have to do your best not to get overzealous with spamming it. If you can help it, have an Osmos G to help reel in some power blocks to get your recharge rate going. But you'll eventually get to this little portion right here where you get a bunch of these little green Gummi ships that die really quickly and they spawn in very great numbers. So as long as you've been doing reasonably well, these guys should allow you to kind of push yourself over the edge of that whole 130 curve in order to actually finish off everything right here. You will be tight on the amount of ships you have to kill versus how many there are, but it is still more than doable, and for completing the first mission, you can get yourself a Rock Gummi. Mission 2, collect all the items, obtain a score of 1600 or higher. This could actually prove to be pretty annoying as well. I mean, if you've noticed by some of the ones I've been calling annoying, the star rating is kind of up there in terms of 4 out of 5, 5 out of 5, stuff like that. I'm just going to be rolling with my standard Excalibur Gummi, you know, the main thing I've used for all the collecting missions, like getting a particular score and stuff. And the route we're going to be doing is going from all the way from Olympus Coliseum all the way to Hollow Bastion via the Purple Warpole route. So this is pretty similar in terms of Neverland and all that other stuff from going from OC with the Purple Warpole all the way to there, except instead of taking a right when we are, you know, at that particular moment, we take a left instead. And, you know, with all the weapons available to you, and Osmos G to collect all the stuff, all the lasers, and Thunder Gs having just an onslaught of weapons and all this other stuff, you know, you can actually make pretty quick work of this Gummi mission. Well, not quick work, but pretty efficient work of this Gummi mission. The score, I would say, is a bit tight. You do have to kill a lot of things in order to actually persevere and finish it off. Like, this is probably, no, I'll say this is probably the second hardest mission to get, no, even the third hardest mission to actually score properly on, like, to actually fulfill it. But I'll get into the harder ones after this, because they belong to End of the World. But yeah, get our score of 1600, not by a lot, but still managed it, and arrive at Hollow Bastion and get yourself an Angel Gummy for your reward for clearing on Mission 2. Now, Mission 3, use Haste 2G 10 times or more without taking damage, and the use of Shield G and Shield 2G is prohibited. So, for the sake of ease, I'm just going to use the exact same thing that I've been using for a lot of the score missions, like the one we just used last time, except easily just take off the Shield 2 Gummy. You can have anything you want as long as it does not involve having a Shield 2 Gummy at your disposal. Once again, we are going to be using the Purple Warpole route, starting with Olympus Coliseum all the way to Hollow Bastion, and of course using the Haste 2G as much as we can. I would advise that you use a slower engine, especially with some of the really chaotic parts of this gummy route, just in case, but if you're feeling bold enough and you're feeling confident enough, you can use whatever engine you really feel like, so long as you have a Haste 2G to help accelerate yourself. And also take advantage of using the Haste 2G at very particular moments where you really won't put yourself at danger. Particularly during the little transition screens and when you're entering the little purple warpole there, you can exhaust your entire Haste 2G just by pressing the square button. It'll pretty much wear out instantly as soon as you touch the warpole, and it'll just start to recharge on its own. And just do yourself a favor and keep track as to how many times you've actually used the thing. Also, clear out whatever you need in order to make sure that you're not really at any risk into accidentally charging into various obstacles or gummy ships and all that other stuff. You can also, you know, just obviously blow things out of proportion with your lasers and your weapons and your guns and all that stuff, but there is also a particular time and place to actually make sure you do boost so you don't end up losing the entire mission just because of one silly button press. Like in this instance, clear out the entire wall, and then use another Haste 2G like so. This gummy route is actually pretty short, funny enough, because of all the Haste 2Gs that it forces you to use. But the particular screens like this can be really annoying because there's a bunch of very tiny obstacles and ships coming your way while you're trying to make sure you manage a proper amount of them. So just keep your wits about you and all that other stuff. Don't forget to hold left when you get to the dividing point. Use your Haste 2G during any optional, like, just any good opportunities you can. Make sure you hold the top right of this particular screen right here, because funny enough, I actually accidentally touched one of the ships loading into that last part right here and had to start the whole mission over. But if you haven't taken damage and you've been successful, congratulations, you complete the mission and get yourself the Phoenix Gummy. And that completes, Phoenix Blueprint rather, and that completes all the missions that Hollow Bastion has to offer. Only one more to go and it's End of the World. Last but not least, we have End of the World, home to some of the worst missions in the game. Mission 1, Survival of the Fittest, use 2 or fewer gummy blocks and arrive without taking any damage or using the brakes, so you kinda gotta go balls to the wall with this one. I like how it says you use 2 or fewer when 2 is the absolute limit in terms of how little blocks you can have on, and this is it. This is all you can have, is a cockpit and an engine, and I've chosen a full life gummy and a Holy G. It doesn't really matter what you choose though, just so long as you have only 2 blocks available to you, and this looks really stupid, so I mean, yeah. I'm not going to speed up any portion of this just so you can see exactly how diligent you have to be with this kind of thing. Without taking any damage, without, you know, with only 2 gummy blocks, without using the brakes, I guess in retrospect, a slower gummy engine would be better for this, because not being able to use the brakes could be a big issue since you're going so fast with something like the Holy G. But as you can obviously guess, since I'm showing you this clip in particular, I managed to successfully do it, but it does not mean that I was actually able to do this with okay, I actually did it first try, but that's not the point. Is that unless you're extremely bold, then I would highly recommend you use something along the lines of a Fire or a Fire G. Nothing like a Holy G, because it will go way too fast, and you just get overwhelmed way too easily. The only really annoying part about this entire mission is not even this part. You see these gummy ships right here, the white ones known as Omegas? Dodging these guys, this isn't the hard part. The hard part is what immediately follows it. This little portion right here where you have to get in the middle of these blocks, that is almost impossible to calculate without using the brakes. I somehow managed to do this mission in one go, but you will probably be spending a lot of time on this mission and a lot of the other missions this place has to offer because of its really annoying just ways of doing things. And get yourself a Shoes Gummy for completing the first mission. Mission 2, use 5 or fewer gummy blocks and obtain a score of 350 or higher. Yeah, they actually do get worse. If you thought that was annoying, then you haven't seen anything yet, especially the last one that is complete evil. So really, all I've done is just simply upgraded from my standard 2-block gummy ship to a 5-block gummy ship by simply adding an Osmos gummy, a Thunder gummy, and a Meteor gummy as my weapons. And you see right there, blocks used 5, yeah. This game is stressing the whole minimalist approach to this entire world right here for the Gummi Missions. Yes, that does mean no boosting, no shields to protect you. You pretty much just have to go all in and pick up as much as you can, but be extremely careful because blowing all of your power in this can really result in you hurting really later on in certain parts of this mission right here. You see, I already blew half of my MP, and that's a big issue because in this little portion right here, I'm going to speed up because I'm basically braking the whole time. Yeah, just put this into perspective. This is at like times 3 or 4 speed, and this is how fast I'm going. And you just want to try your best to get rid of all these tiny little blocks using the Thunder G. I said that really weirdly. Thunder G, the Meteor G, and don't use the Osmos G at this point in the Gummi Mission unless you absolutely have to. You will get to various portions right here where you have a bunch of mini obstacles, kind of like little Lego blocks. You also have the little blue meteorites to recharge your MP and stuff like that. I keep saying MP and power interchangeably, it doesn't really matter. I made a mistake here and actually used my laser instead of my Osmos gummy, so I kinda didn't have a way to collect anything, really, and it really screwed me a bit. But I somehow managed to make it. This is just going to show you that you can't afford to make mistakes in this. Not can't. You can afford to make mistakes in this and still succeed, but it's a lot harder the more mistakes you make, obviously. So coming up here, just do your best to get rid of as many ships as you can, slow down so you can trap them all, use the Osmos G to pick up as many as you can, try to space your Osmos Gs and your lasers out as much as possible and only save them for when you really need to. You will not want a score of less than 240 by this point to absolutely ensure yourself, because even though we're almost at the end and I'm still 100 points under, you will be amazed at how many points you actually can manage in just this last little section right here. I recommend you have at least 240 before you continue on though. Because right here you have a bunch of these blue meteorites right here. Give yourself some more power, some more armor. You just get ourselves a good like 50 points from that. You have yourself a lot more gummy ships coming out here. Use the Osmos G to pull them in. And if you've done well enough, you will just be able to manage a little over 350 points. Right here I get, what, a 370. Yeah, 371. Cutting it pretty tight. I mean, it's 5 out of 5 stars for a reason. It's pretty tricky. And for completing it, you get yourself the Dark Gummy. And the final Gummi mission of the game, destroy them all, obtain a score of 600 or higher. There are no sort of limitations to this. All you have to do is just get a score of 250 or higher, or 600 or higher, excuse me. And simply all I've done is equip 5 Meteor Gs, given myself 5 Thunder Gs, and for this instance, I have given myself the slowest engine possible because you're gonna need it so you can destroy all those mini obstacles along the way to ensure yourself 600 points. You cannot get much more than 600 points in this entire mission, so you will be pretty much having the brakes on the entire time, even if you are using the the slowest gummy engine there is in the game, which I'm using, which is the Fire G. If you don't take my word for it, I would say I played this considerably better than the last mission I did, and I barely made it, and you'll get to see that. Use Osmos G sparingly, especially if you have all the lasers and stuff. Like, I have 5 lasers, which might be slightly overkill. You might want more Thunder Gs than that, but I managed to get this to work. Again, this is like ×4 speed. I just speeded up for your viewing pleasure, and you'll just see I'm taking out all, like, literally as many obstacles as I possibly can. Every single thing you do in this mission matters. You cannot afford to make pretty much any mistakes during this, or at least very few. You need to hit, I would say, 90% of the obstacles and enemies that are on this road to even have a chance at actually doing so. I say 90% because there's no way in hell you're going to be killing a majority of those Omega Gummies without, you know, at least getting lucky. So even here, this whole little part where there's just these little holes and stuff, destroy those. Those will add up. They give you 1 point each as they each count for an obstacle. Again, conserving your power as much as you can, having Osmos G to pull them in, having Meteor Gs to attack targets from a very far distance, auto lock-on. Having 4 power if you get lucky enough to have so is really ideal here, so you can take out some of the Omega Gs that are here. You don't need to take these out at all, but it does help because you get yourself 2 points for every kill and item they drop. So try to kill as many as you can. If you don't stress about it. You want to get around 475 going into this final little portion right here after you've gotten yourself to the, what's it called? After you've gotten yourself past the Omega Gummi ship part. With all these white ships and the red ships as well. Which, by the way, don't attempt to take down the red ships because they have more health and endurance than the regular Omegas. So you're not really going to end well, just leave them be. And like I said, around 475 you should be set up, but you're cutting it really close. Slow down really quick right here. Yeah, slow down fast, that's a good one. Osmos G to pull in some more powers and more armors. Give yourself some more Gummi blocks, destroy the remaining Gummi ships. We're cutting it super close here to like the very friggin' end. And we get ourselves 607. Yeah, you see, barely enough. Okay, actually there's a few more. We get ourselves 621, but still, 622. We barely made it. But at long last, we have finally completed every single Gummi mission that this game has to offer. And you get yourself the Eden Blueprint for your reward. You'll notice that it takes a minute for the whole HUD to load in right there after you make it to end of the world. It's like, okay. And then all you have to do is simply go back to the world map, and if you press Gummi Ship Mission once again, you'll get prompted with this. Congratulations, mission completed. Great job, you've completed all the missions. Here's Bahamut and Crown G as a reward. You're a true Gummi Ship Master. Try making your own ships and getting even better scores. Depending on what difficulty you've cleared this on will affect their message, and you get that for clearing it on the hardest difficulty, which is Proud. And there we go, guys. We have completed every single mission in the game. Every Gummi mission is complete. Every world is complete. You can even see it right here. And yeah, that's pretty much going to do it for me. I have been MrMaster1. Thank you for watching. This has been episode 52 of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix HD Proud Level 1. And in the next episode, we will finish off doing all the Gummi Ship stuff that is remaining. Yes, there is more stuff to do, even after missions. I'm sorry, but we're almost done. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.